Greetings, everyone. George Lamie here from Sea Tranquility, and welcome to a special episode of uh, it's a conversation. I'm going to say because this is a guy I've known for quite a while. He's a great guest. He's a bassist, guitarist, songwriter, and producer. Originally from Canada, but working out of London now. Mr. Antoine Fafard. Antoine, welcome to Sea Tranquility.
Thank you, George. Thanks for having me. I've known you for years, but I think it's the first time we actually uh talk. So it's great. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
on.
we got out of the Facebook chat conversation and into real life.
That's it.
Well, you just recently, last Friday, as a matter of fact, put out your 11th solo album, Quadra Spherium. Why don't you tell everybody how this one came together?
Sure. So that's you've got two special guests on this album, more than guests, collaborators. So Gary Husband on drums and Jean-Pierre Zanella on sax, tenor sax. Uh, I've done albums with Gary before, either him on drums or on a keyboard because he plays both instruments. He can switch from one to the next without any problem. So he's an amazing musician. And Jean-Pierre, he's actually an old teacher. I don't play the sax, but he was teaching harmony, and I've known him for years. And he's kind of a very well-known musician, jazz musician in Montreal, but also in Brazil because he plays Brazilian music as well. So he's a versatile player. He plays big band music. I mean, amazing musician. So he's recorded on some tracks in the past. Hi, hello, cat, by the way. He's recorded for me in the past, and he's just at one point he recorded a tenor sax, uh, a song on a tenor sax, and I thought it was so amazing. Kind of reminded me of kind of Brecker, and I was like, but he's not known as a tenor sax player. He's more alto, soprano. And I thought, hey, what do you think of an idea? Let's do an album on you on the tenor. People will find it kind of different. And he was up for it. And then in parallel, Gary told me, hey, I've got this new drum kit that Pearl made just for me, like a crystal beat, adapted with all the dimensions that he needed. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take Gary's offer with Jean-Pierre's, concept, and just went with it, merged the two. So that's the genesis of this project. And also, I just want to mention that I've never done an album with sax on every song. So it's a kind of a sax oriented album, although there's a lot of guitar stuff that I've recorded and plenty of drums. But I thought, I'm at this stage. I didn't realize there was 11 album that I did this. So I stopped counting, but each album needs to have like its own uh, special imprint, special identity.
Yeah.
So I thought I've never done an album with sax and tenor sax in this instance. So let's try that. I've got two great musicians. What can you ask? Um, you cannot ask for more.
Yeah,
So there
right.
we are.
Yeah, you've worked with both of these guys many times. I think this is the fifth time you've had Gary on one of your records.
Oh
Although
yeah.
just the second time with drums. You've used him more
Yes,
for keyboard playing.
that's
Uh,
right.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask if you had remotely considered bringing back Jerry DeVilliers for this, considering that the time that Gary played drums,
Yeah.
that was the album.
It would have been a natural kind of connection.
Right.
Um, but you know what? Um, I've played a lot of lead guitar on this project, and that's kind of my personal challenge. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Jerry is a much better musician than I am. Much because there's no comparison. I'm not saying that I'm playing like Jerry, but I thought that's a personal challenge. I want to do an album where I play lead guitar, and I
Okay.
wouldn't put an album with me on lead guitar and Jerry because
Uh,
it's either all him or me. So
yeah.
it was a personal challenge, and I'm not gonna claim that it was just something I needed to do. Put on my it was on my bucket list. but working with Jerry is definitely something I'd love to do again. He's one of a kind, but yeah, that would be why I went with, I tried. I went with a lead guitar and challenged myself.
I
Um,
kind of guessed that. I take it you're really enjoying playing lead guitar on this stuff.
yeah, and it's funny because some people may find that odd. It's like, why is he on lead guitar now? I, I've got all those years of playing, let's say, only bass and then a little bit of classical guitar or background stuff. And it's, you know what? I like to challenge myself, bring bring something new. Um and sometimes, I mean, it's in human nature to say, well, this guy is he does that and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what he does for the rest of his life. And when you bring something different, I mean, maybe some people have difficulty to accept Gary as both a keyboard and drummer.
Yeah.
And but I've witnessed him record in front of me, and I can guarantee you this guy is fluent, no problem in both instruments. So it is possible. And I'm not saying that I'm bringing that sort of level on the guitar. I'm just, it's a challenge for me, and I waited a few years to so that I can bring it to a certain level that's acceptable musically, and I took the leap. That's it.
It's beyond acceptable. When I'm listening to the lead track, The Fifth Dimension, your solo on that, man, you're cutting heads.
Yeah, well, try.
Yeah. It, something I wanted to bring up that I really appreciate about you. You were actually featured in a recent Modern Drummer magazine article talking about how you select the drummers that you work with. And you've had masters like Dave Weckl, Vinnie Colaiuta, Simon Phillips, Todd Sucherman, Gavin Harrison, Chad Wackerman, amongst others. Have you always taken a particular interest in the drums, or how does
Yeah,
that come about?
absolutely. I'm a fan first. So I'm a fan of drummers. I did play some rudiments as yeah, as a kid, and I enjoyed doing that. And it's like maybe I should have continued because I love the drum so much that I'm probably in my dream. I would get myself a kit and just start playing, but I just don't have. I don't know. I'm making a reason why I'm not doing it, but maybe I should. So I'm a fan of the drums. I'm a fan of the idea of playing the drums. But in the meantime, I'm just enjoying all those drummers. And when one day I realized, well, those people are human beings, they are reachable. Um, and all I can do is pitch ideas. And if they like it, maybe they'll record for me. And that's how it kind of turned out. And so as there are kind of multiple elements. When I hire a musician, first of all, I'm a fan. And second, we're creating something together, which is amazing. And thirdly, having this name that's recognizable, uh, people who don't know my name might say, well, oh, okay, uh, Simon Phillips is on this. Let's give it a listen. So
Yeah.
it has a kind of a almost like a, marketing element to it. I'm not gonna lie about it,
Yeah.
but you know, um, why not? I mean, the point is, if the music sounds good, that's the bottom line. So
I think a lot of people would be interested that using all these big names on your records. How does one go about that? You're sitting there, you compose the material, and you're like, I think Vinnie Colaiuta is a good fit for this. So do you get in contact? Do all these guys charge differently? How does it all work?
yeah, it's case by case. So first of all, everybody gives me a deal. People understand that I'm not backed by Sony Music. I'm just a guy in a little room who's writing music, So I'm not. I don't have unlimited budget. It's what I do is what we call cottage industry. I think even Frank Zappa used to define his own what he did as that. I'm surrounding here with boxes of unsold CDs and things like that. So I'm dealing with distribution and trying to reach as many people as I can. But so when I deal with a drummer, first of all, there's no yes, I write music at this stage. I can write music for a specific drummer, who I think will be interested to play it. The risk I'm taking is that that person might say, no, I'm too busy, or I'm maybe not interested. That's fine. But I haven't had anyone said I absolute no, I'm not interested, because what I realize is that I've listened to all those musicians for many years, and so their style, I'm a fan. So what I'm gonna write musically will be probably in line with what they like to play. So it's not complete. It's not a coincidence that they end up liking what I'm offering, and it's compatible musically. As far as deals, it's case by case. I mean, I've done a few albums with Gavin Harrison where it's a complete 50-50 person deal. So
Yeah.
I write the project, and we get it out there. It's on both of our names, and if it reaches profit level, we split half and half. So that's the sort of deal. Other musicians, I mean, there are some that would literally tell me, give me whatever you want. So that puts me in a position. So I mean, but I try to be fair, and by that point I kind of know, I don't want to give something that's insulting, but I don't want to give. They know I cannot reach a level that is
Like,
unreachable for an independent artist.
yeah.
So yeah, I would say it's everybody is fair, understands my position. They don't work for free, but they also, you know, Todd Zuckerman won't charge what he makes for sticks.
Right.
Okay, so there's quite a difference. So yeah, that's the deal. And like I said, I approach musicians if they're interested. They understand my situation, like a lot of our other composers. We're trying to get interesting projects out there. And but one thing for sure, just to close that kind of a chapter, is I always try to pay something to every musician that plays on my projects. I'm not comfortable in having people, unless we exchange tracks. I can record something and someone send me something. But if I ask someone to record something, and it demands time and energy, and you know, I just want to give at least a minimum that I think is fair, and usually it's appreciated, and it's it works well for everybody.
So everybody knows I sometimes get in Antoine's ear over Facebook Messenger about guys I want him to try for, like Dennis Chambers and Gurgle Borlai, and he's always like, oh, okay, I'll think about that one.
Well, great suggestion. I mean, I did try to get something going with Dennis, and we had a few conversations, and it was just scheduling that was difficult, and
He's a busy guy.
logistics. He's a busy guy, and
Yeah.
I still think that it might be feasible. The problem is that sometimes I don't have enough music, uh, or music on standby to offer to those musicians. So let's say a connection is made with a Dennis, or name it, Marco Miniman, for example, or name it.
Yeah.
Great, the connection is made, but I don't have anything. So I need to actually sit down and work on the music. So I tend to work on the music first, and then when I'm ready, when I've got the stuff ready, then I start shopping for musicians. So
Something else you and I have talked about before is you mentioned doing work for somebody else. I once asked you, how come you don't do a lot of session work? You're so professional. I would think you're in demand, and you said you're really not.
I'm not in demand.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few people who have asked me, and I've done a few tracks, but it's, you know what, I almost want to say I don't want to be in demand, because my own stuff keeps me busy
Yeah,
enough that I probably, I probably don't have much time for other projects.
yeah.
Um, so it's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
I was trying to get my buddy Michael that worked with your engineer David. He's always trying
Yes.
to have a good bassist on standby for certain projects, and I put your name in his ear, so maybe.
Michael Harris.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Speaking
Oh
of,
well,
how do you say it? Is it David or is it just David?
it's Italian, so it's Davide.
Davide.
Uh,
Okay.
it's the Italian version of David, of course, but yeah,
Speaking of
that's how we
him,
pronounce it.
to me, he's a big part of what you're doing. He's
You bet.
just fantastic, man. The results he gets, this new album sounds great. I mean,
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about him.
Credits to him. And it was, I can tell you, it wasn't easy to mix for various reasons. The drums were recorded, and the drums really make the difference on if an album sounds good or not, right?
Okay.
If it's mixed badly, you can tell, and it kind of the whole production disintegrate. It sounds like it doesn't sound professional. And in this case, we struggled because the drums were recorded in a very small kind of small room with low ceilings.
Mhm.
So in terms of room sound, it was terrible. Um, and of course, I mean, the drums sounded good and it were well captured. It's just it was challenging and well played, of course. And but it was difficult to really make them sound. It was hard for him, and it's he could tell you more about this than myself. I always mix. I do a rough mix of everything, and I'm like, okay, I reached a plateau. I cannot go any further than that. And then I give it to him, and he brings it up to a level that I don't even know how to reach that level. So, but I know it was challenging. And in fact, he's mixing another project now, the next one, and it's so much easier because, yeah, it's night and day. But we can only, it's very difficult to get the ultimate um, sound capture for drums. And I would say the best experience I've had was probably with Simon Phillips, because Simon himself is the sound, he knows about sound engineering,
Yeah.
and he's at the time he traveled with his own microphone, which I thought it was amazing for the toms. He had like a briefcase with his microphone. Um, and it was recorded in a really large room. It's called the Wood Room at Real World Studio in a countryside here, and it was like amazing. So that was David could tell you that was probably the easiest to mix because of that, perfect sound capture and room mics that capture the ideal kind of sonic capture. So that was a good experience. So,
I think I
but
remember
yeah,
video clips from that. I remember
yeah.
seeing.
In fact, the whole thing was filmed, and it's available. People can go. That's my plug. You can go to my website and purchase for only $9 uh, a video of the whole session, the whole album on video. So, and it's the case for other albums as well. People like to see those players in action. So, when you do a session with a Gary or a Simon Phillips or Todd Sucherman, you want to see them do that thing. So you can actually view the whole thing.
Yeah, you got superhuman players like this. You'd like to see how the hell does he do that?
Yeah, yeah. I want to know myself, and I'm like, what?
Uh, for those who don't know, you put out 5 albums in the 2000s with the Canadian prog fusion band Spaced Out.
Yes.
Talk a little about how you feel about looking back on that in retrospect.
Well, it was, I guess, a little bit more immature days, my beginnings as trying things out. I was with buddies from guys I either went college or university with, and people they were friends first and foremost. And yeah, it was my venture into creating stuff, recording it in different environments and different, but it was there was some raw energy in there, and more maybe a more aggressive approach to music, and maybe a more into metal, and that in those days I was playing live a lot more. I mean, this is not something I don't do anymore. I don't um, play concerts. I'm basically composing all the time and recording in my studio. In those days, we would play live. Our biggest, one of our biggest gigs was the Near Fest in 2002. So that's already, uh, 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, that was a good experience. From kind of playing little dive bars to a big stage. It's like, okay. And we did another festival in France called Crescendo, which was nice. So that was captured that was filmed. Um,
A good
and
gig.
yeah, well, when I look back, I look back, I'm very critical of era. I think I tried my best. I think there was a lot of raw energy. I tried what I could with what I had, but I think harmonically, it wasn't as rich as what I've been doing in the last 15 years. So that's my feeling about it.
I mean, you got to take the baby steps, right? And it
Yeah.
also the listeners. The first time I ever heard you, a guy had sent me a CDR of Eponymous 2, and when I heard the
Oh,
Lost String, I was like, okay,
wow.
interesting, you know. And
Yeah.
I followed your solo career, so even the
Amazing.
small steps that don't seem that important are important.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny because that song, for instance, there's a pattern, a riff that I was playing on that song that I'm revisiting now. So many, 25 years later, because it's still in me. So that era is not gone. It's still those concepts, those rhythm concepts, like a paradiddle on the bass playing, slap.
Nice.
It's funny because I've just done a song, and I mean, not many people will see the connection, but I make it and say, "Oh yeah, that's my old riff." I'm looking in my old bank of riffs, and I'm bringing it back, and now I'm gonna throw it in a different context, and that's for my next album with Gavin Harrison. So yeah, and I mean, I can talk about that a little bit. Is Yeah, in those days I would work, on one project, on one album, and get it out there. And these days my approach is to work on about three, four different projects at the same time. And it works well for me. But people think I'm really productive. I'm not. I'm working really, really slowly, but on multiple things. So when they come out, they happen to come out one after another, but really they started years ago. So
Is it me or are you slapping a little bit less these days?
yeah, a lot less, a lot less. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. So I'm a little bit rusty actually. When I need to record, I need to kind of warm up for a couple days, get the blood flowing, and get it's like an old muscle. It's still there, but it's not as good. So in those days, I would watch TV. In those days, hockey when I live in Canada, and it was just slap for a whole match just to get the technique going. So I don't do that anymore.
I think one of your strengths uh, is you don't belie your influences. When I hear you, I go, oh, I don't go, oh, he sounds like this guy, he sounds like that guy. So consequently, I don't know who your influences are. Who would you say are your
Yeah.
influences musically and bass?
So one thing, I told you about my philosophy of, or I think I told you, I don't like to repeat the same concept from one album to the next. So the latest is the sax album, and the next one might be, violin, whatever. I like to have each album so as a player, I kind of take that same approach where I'm not trying to sound like to be the clone of someone. And a lot of times, like, let's say you discover a new artist, and you say, well, you automatically you're trying to see what does it sound like? Is he? Oh, he's like a Steve Vai, or he's like a, mixture of Malmsteen and
So
Satriani.
you tell your friend about the album. Hey, I got this new album.
Yeah,
He's gonna say, "What's it sound like?" Well, he's kind of like this meets this, you know.
he's
And when
like
I
a
tell
Jaco
someone about you, I don't
Pastorius.
really have it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the best compliment because I don't know myself. It's just my. So I'll tell you who I've listened to and transcribed. Jaco was a big influence. John Petitucci. Um, Still to this day, I sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm trying to improvise a little bit too much like John Petitucci for some reason. And maybe people don't see the connection, but I see it, and it's because I transcribed his solo, and I love his tone when he plays really high on the sixth string. Um, so those two guys, but I've you know, transcribed a lot of players, especially at university, because I studied jazz, at university, and one of the tasks was to transcribe a lot of music.
Okay.
And so I went Jeff Berlin and people like that, and Victor Wooten. When I heard him, it was that's an alien that came out of nowhere. I mean, who is that? And
Yeah.
a bunch of other aliens came up, like a Michael Mannering. And I was at the festival in France. He was there on his own and could do a full set on the bass on his own. It's like absolutely next level genius. I mean, that's you
Yeah.
know, uh, so so all those guys I've mentioned are an influence on me. But it's funny, although bass is my strong instrument, when I work on music, it's not about the bass, it's about the whole thing, the whole big picture.
Yeah.
So I don't know, when you listen to my music, because I try on purpose to diversify the orchestration, you you cannot say, oh, he's is that or that. It
Yeah.
changes all the time. Now my kind of trademark, especially with the Modern Drummer piece and this album, I can also promote, called Circle of Eight, right? Another little plug. This is a compilation album with 8 tracks and 8 different drummers. I've just started to promote that. It's something I'm doing with a company in the UK called Elastic Stage, and the concept is, they produce the copy for the order, so I don't have to stockpile 500 copies and sell 50, and I'm stuck with 450. So it's a good concept. I tried it, and the quality is good. So yeah, my point is, I'm this guy who focuses on a lot of great drummers, but I'm working on pieces, on projects now, orchestral stuff, where I'm not going to play, and it's only pure orchestral stuff. So I'm going to kill all my audience with that, but doesn't matter. As a composer, I need to stretch. I need
Yeah.
to try different things. So the fact that you cannot pigeonhole me is probably for all those reasons. I'm trying different things, but I think my signature thing is into the harmonic approach, I think, and it's difficult to make a parallel. So you might see parallels with Chick Corea, or the prog elements, but it's
Not
hard
re
because I've listened to all that stuff and I tried to put it all into my music.
Yeah. Even all those guys you named, y- you don't recall any of those guys to me, but if they're part of the way it puts together in your head, that's all that matters. You got something out of it.
I think so. Yeah. Well, it's at this stage, I'm not. It's really important as a composer, and that's not to when you work on something. I mean, undeniably, you will say, "Oh, that's the part that's like Rush." Okay, that chorus is like Rush. Like, think about that song. It's my tribute to. But you have to be really careful not to be a copycat, because this is where it becomes. If you want to listen to Rush, not this guy who's trying to sound like Rush. So,
Right.
so yeah, you kind of have to be kind of firm in your own originality, which is not something you can learn from someone. It has to come from you. And we could sit down and break it down and say, why is it original? Well, that becomes more of a musical lesson about harmony and melodies and rhythm and all that. So, which is, I think, my strong point, or whatever I do is that research in harmony and music harmony, and yeah, but it's good not to be pigeonholed. I think that's my.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I make a point of not trying to be that.
So you've got 2 videos to my knowledge for the album, Fifth Damnation and Flow. Is that it so far?
Yeah, that's right. I've got 2 music videos that feature the full length songs, and I have a documentary, a half-hour documentary. So it's a bit long. I've never done a half-hour documentary on the making of an album, but it's on my YouTube channel if you want to check it. So YouTube .com/Antoine Fafard, or if you find me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, uh, mainly, and you'll find the links. So on social media, I have a lot of snippets, like 1 minute excerpts that I keep pushing around an album. It's just a good way to promote it and show like a quick because people have low attention on social media. You just scroll and you've got I might have 10 seconds for you or maybe 5 seconds. So you have to show your best for a short period of time. But then
Yeah.
you go on YouTube to watch the full length. So Fifth Damnation, Flow are the two main ones. I'm not planning to release any more at the moment. So if people want to see just Gary and its the full album of him in studio, that's on my website. And yeah, I mean,
Well, it's,
videos are great promotion.
yeah, they are. Especially with social media, that's how everybody shares songs. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's the way to go. Why don't you tell everybody where to get the album? I know it's on Bandcamp. Where else?
Yeah. So if you like the good old fashioned CD, it is now on kind of everywhere. So if you're based in the States, Amazon's got it, and it's well distributed by Amplified, which that Amplified is my connection to Alliance. Alliance is the main distributor. Alliance is one of the biggest distributor in the US. So they get their stuff pretty much everywhere. And I think a lot of independent stores like Laser's Edge, you're friends with Ken, right? I
Yeah,
think Ken, so he gets my album through Alliance. So I don't have to deal with independent stores. I get it, they get it through Alliance. So um,
he'd kill
if
me
you're
if
not
I
big, sorry,
he'd
yeah,
kill me if he'd kill me if I didn't mention he was carrying it.
yes, yes. Well, thank you, Ken. So yeah, Laser's Edge. That's the place where you want to get it. If you're not in the US, it's carried on the international Amazon sites, like at the moment it's UK and but it is out there. I'm trying to develop more and more uh independent store outside of the US. I'm trying to get in places and markets. I have a good connection with Japan with Marquee. But Japan is a kind of isolated market itself, but I see it's more and more there. And uh, in the UK, I've got Code 7, which is another distributor they deal with mainly UK, but also with Europe. So we're talking about the CD here. And if you want digital, at the moment it's Bandcamp. Uh, that's the one place, or my website. Hey, how can I forget my own website? So AntoineFafard.com. Hey, uh, I also, if you order from my website CD, I sign it and dedicate it to whoever you want me to dedicate. They get too, and I sell also a book if people are interested into uh, music charts, lead sheets, and things like that. I can plug my book, which is Quadra Spherium, all the music, the sax and drum parts used during the recording session. So
Nice.
that's exclusive to my website. I only make a few copies, but if people are interested in knowing more about the science behind the music, it's all in there. Um, and what streaming, it has to be Bandcamp at the moment. And my strategy, if you could call it like that, around releasing albums is I put it out there onto digital platforms much later. Because the challenge for an independent artist to maximize your potential revenue. So what you don't want is losing. Personally, I find it that when it goes on to streaming services, it devalues the music a little bit.
I agree.
It becomes too accessible. I
Yep.
want it to be a little bit more. So, but Bandcamp is a fair service. I mean, they don't pay for streaming, but they do pay for if you buy the album on digital files. And I think it's. I mean, that's a community in itself. Because I started to use Bandcamp only a few years ago. People would say, I will only buy it if you put it on Bandcamp. I said, okay, sir, I'll put it on Bandcamp. Next thing I know, a lot of people buying on Bandcamp. So I was missing a trick there. So uh, it's an important other avenue for an independent artist. And yeah, in a few months from now, I'll probably put it everywhere else, like the Spotify of this world. So, but yeah, I think that a new album has a short shelf life. uh, before it becomes a little bit of a. But the beauty of music is people can discover this album in 10 years from now and think, "Wow, how did I miss this?" I mean, it happens to me all the time. I discover stuff from the 70s that I didn't know existed. So, it's okay. It's but this a project like this still, if everybody gives me a deal, but it's still it costs me quite a little bit of money, so I need to recoup that as a minimum and then hopefully make a profit and carry on.
You heard him, everybody. Help him out here. Throw him a listen. Throw him a purchase. This is it right here. Quadra Spherium. You got all the contacts for it. Definitely look into this thing. This is a guy doing quality work here, and he needs he needs people, good music fans, to check it out. It's really good stuff. Um, Thanks for coming on, Antoine. Long overdue.
Yeah.
I want everyone
My
visit us on the web at seatranquility.org. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on the notification bell. Below, we have all the options where you can support the channel. I want to thank Antoine. Please, everybody, check this out. For Antoine Fafard, I'm George Lamie. We'll see you soon.